Jennifer Morgan is an American-German environmental activist specializing in climate change policy. However, since 2022, she's been serving as Special Representative for International Climate Policy of the Federal Foreign Office in Germany under Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock. A couple of weeks ago, she was in Nigeria hoping to awaken the country on her potential on the continent. She had a chat with my colleague, Gloria Umezuki, in Abuja.
Jennifer Morgan, thank you for joining us.
Very pleased to be here.
We had the German Chancellor in Nigeria months ago.
Yes.
Now you were here months after. What is the core purpose of this visit?
Well, our core purpose is really to see how we can intensify our collaboration with Nigeria on creating a clean energy economy. We have an energy partnership, which has been in place since 2008, which has done quite a lot. But I wanted to come and see, okay, we have the energy transition plan now. What can we be doing together to scale up renewable energy in Nigeria, to provide energy access to people who don't have it, tremendous solar power here, to be looking at green hydrogen, and to be meeting with the government here, of course, but also with stakeholders, with the private sector. Because at our last climate conference that we were all at in Dubai last year, we said, okay, we're going to triple renewable energy. We're going to double efficiency. We're going to have a just transition away from fossil fuels. So Nigeria is a key partner for us, and we want to see how we can intensify that collaboration.
Well, the German Chancellor, in his visit last year, he said as much about renewing, creating fresh energy, pacts with Nigeria and economic partnership. We've got the fossil fuels and all of that we're trying to transit. How do you intend to help Nigeria in her energy transition plan?
Well, I think there's a couple ways that we're working together now that we could double down on. Ways of looking at, okay, if you want to scale up renewable energy, what are the policy frameworks that you need to do that? But also, how do you get the investment? How do you finance it? And Germany has looked at the issue of guarantees. So how do you bring down the cost of capital if you want to invest in renewables in Nigeria? And one discussion we're having is how we could be leveraging more guarantees so that then Nigerian companies and German companies could then be investing in those projects, because renewables is cost effective, it is affordable, but the projects aren't happening yet. So how, as at the scale that they could. So how could we be doing that? How could we be scaling up and looking at private sector engagement on green hydrogen? Also for Nigerian use, of course. We're looking at it from a German perspective for our own energy-intensive industries. Nigeria over time can be doing the same, but also be looking at exporting green hydrogen over time. Those are two examples. Efficiency standards. As the climate crisis is hitting, the temperatures are going up. That means more air conditioning. That means more energy. Well, how we have some experience with efficiency standards and having more efficient appliances. So those are some practical examples.
I know that Germany, they've got this ambitious hydrogen plan. You fall among countries, like US, Sweden, I think China is the one on the topmost on the list, and Saudi Arabia. And you're really looking to tap into and collaborate with countries like Nigeria. We've got hydrogen, and we're yet to tap it in significant levels. In what ways are you planning to assist and collaborate with Nigeria, to maximize her potential?
So we have a green hydrogen office, diplomatic office now in Abuja. And
since 2021.
Exactly. And so some of the work that's been done thus far is actually just raising the profile of the possibility for this. It's not today. It's developing quickly into the future to be involving private sector engagement, but also then what the Ministry of Petroleum just mentioned, working together on a national hydrogen law here, a policy. We've put one in place or updated ours in Germany. So working on that piece of getting the policy frameworks in place. Because if you're going to have private sector engagement, they need to have certainty of, okay, this is going to be something that's going to stay for the future. And the other is, no, green hydrogen isn't happening today, but the solar resources in Nigeria are absolutely tremendous. So if together in parallel, Nigeria is looking at its own just transition away from fossil fuels, but at the same time building out the solar energy and the other renewable energy, that's good for local populations, of course, for energy access, but it also can be paving the way over time in the medium term for the hydrogen future. We think that the ETP that's in place here, the energy transition plan, is very ambitious, and that Nigeria has stated its ambitions to go to that net zero goal by 2060. A very courageous and bold, which is what we would expect from Nigeria, and welcome it.
Given the resources, though.
Right, and so that's where I think Germany can come in, both on, this coming year, we all have to put forward our 2035 plans for how we're going to, for the United Nations, for the climate meeting coming up, how we're going to actually meet those net zero goals. And I think what Germany can do is look at, okay, what's our experience on getting the policies in place, but getting the investment in place? How do we involve the private sector? So in our last a few years ago in the energy partnership that we have with Nigeria, the Presidential Power Initiative came out, and now we have Siemens stepping in to be working to build out the transmission for Nigeria. So I think it's a mixture of collaboration, sharing what we've learned along the way, because we are doing well in Germany on scaling up our renewables. We're at 56% in our electricity sector of wind and solar, and we have nothing like the solar radiation of Nigeria. And we've learned along the way, what are the ways of doing it? What maybe one shouldn't do? How do you make sure that you have a just transition moving forward? How do you finance it? And I think that's what we hear from our partners here would be interesting and helpful for them as they go along their own pathway.
When you hear discussions about just transition, it's actually very germane, because we talk about communities, vulnerable communities who have been affected by the fossil fuel operations and all of that, and now we just want to transit. How concerned are you about having that just transition?
I'm very concerned about it. It's a top priority, and I think there are a number of different components, as you've said. So I can just speak for my own country, where we've been working on a just transition away from coal, because that's our main energy source. And we have a goal, an aim of 2030. And there we brought together a multi-stakeholder coal commission, which had labor unions, it had NGOs, it had local communities and states, scientists together in the private sector, figuring out how do we do this in a way that the workers have a future. We have some experience in another part of Germany that's already done this, and now is a high-tech center. But you have to be very deliberate about it, and the financing needs to work as well. And I think that's a key area where we're working with other countries like South Africa, for example, on their just energy transition plan, where we've said, okay, how can we be working to decommission the financing of decommissioning coal plants earlier than they would have anyway, because they want to be phasing down their coal. And another part of the just transition is indeed the local communities. So if you have renewables coming in and green hydrogen, I think our goal is to have a different model for how we work together moving forward. One where those local communities really benefit from the development that will come from bringing in, for example, or building out green hydrogen for their own energy, if they don't have energy access already, but also making sure that land rights are taken care of, human rights are taken care of, environmental benefits. And I think that's a top priority for Germany, and something that we look forward to working with.
Did this challenge rear its head in conversations, particularly conversations you had with the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Gas?
It's an area that we raised with them, that we're working on our import strategy for hydrogen, and that for us, we want to be working on eye level with partners and also be creating these standards together. we're talking with countries all around the world, and they also want to make sure that there's local value creation, but also that the local communities aren't negatively impacted, quite the opposite.
So you say that conversation was escalated in your meeting with the Minister of Petroleum, you said?
So when I met today with the Minister of Gas, we talked about hydrogen, and we talked about how to be working together on that, and what kind of standards one sets up for it. So it was kind of just part of the conversation of partners who are trying to figure out, okay, how do you do this? And I think it's in everybody's interest that we work together in a way that brings the benefits. I mean, they raised when at the Ministry of Power today very strongly the need for local value creation for people in Nigeria to be benefiting from the transition itself.
So what impact are we hoping to see?
Well, I think there's some pieces that we're working on continuing, whether it be on the energy side of things and scaling up. We work on the Nigeria Energy Support Plan and adding in components there, which are around rural energy access, what more can be done there, and that's happening now. I think an area we haven't touched on is the impacts of climate change on people in Nigeria. I was today out on the outer skirts of Abuja in Kwale, meeting with traditional leaders to see how they are implementing amazing strategies on farming so that there can be a reduction of herder-farmer conflict, which is increasing because of climate change.
Special Envoy for International Climate Action, Federal Foreign Office adjourned.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.